In this video, we will go over notation used in the household system of measurement. And this is for the worksheet that's in Chapter 3 of MTB 1370, where it asks us to write each of the following measurements using proper household notation system abbreviations and amounts. One thing to remember in the household system of measurement that we do not use decimals. We use fractions and mixed numbers and whole numbers for quantities. And with our abbreviations, we do not put a dot or a period after the abbreviation, nor do we include an S if there is more than one of that quantity. So the first example has 12 drops. Well, 12 is a whole number, so all we have to do is write 12. And then you do have to recall that drops, the proper abbreviation for drops is GTT. That's from Latin. We do not put an S and we do not put a period after the GTT. The next one's 7 ounces. 7 is a whole number, so we just write 7. And ounces is OZ. If it was fluid ounces, it would be FL space OZ when we're talking about liquid measurement. But this is 7 ounces, not fluid ounces. 4 teaspoons would be a 4. And the simplest abbreviation for teaspoons would be a lowercase t. Think of teaspoons as lowercase t. If it was tablespoons, which are larger, it would be an uppercase t. You will also see teaspoons written with TSP. So you could have 4 TSP. I prefer to use just the lowercase t though. For problem number 4, it says 3 tablespoons. The simplest thing to do would be 3 and a capital T. Has to be capital T if it's tablespoons. And remember, each tablespoon is equivalent to 3 teaspoons, which we'll talk about in Chapter 4. The other abbreviation for tablespoon would be TBS, so you could go 3 TBS. I prefer to use the capital T for tablespoon. 6.5 fluid ounces, it's written with a decimal there, but in proper notation it shouldn't be written with a decimal in household notation, so that's 6 5/10, which is 6.5. So that's 6.5 with a half written as a fraction because it's the household system. Fluid ounces would be FL OZ. And we'll talk about equivalents for a fluid ounce in Chapter 4. 1 75 hundredths of a cup, that's 1.75. Well, 75 over 100 is 3/4 if you reduce it, so that's 1 3/4 cups. And normally you'll see cups just spelled out as cups. Sometimes you'll see it with a C, but sometimes the C can get confused with temperature Celsius, which we'll talk about later in this course. So 1 3/4 cup. For pints, we'd have 8, and then pints, the proper abbreviation is PT for pint. Again, no dot, no S after the abbreviation. 10 gallons would be 10 because that's a whole number, and gallons is just GAL. 5 pounds, 5, and pounds would just be LB. Now that's one that a lot of us want to do LB and put an S and a dot. But in our abbreviations, we just have the abbreviation. No plural, no S at the end, and no dot or period. It's just 5 pounds, 5 LB. And the last one, number 10, is 3 2/10 quarts. Well, quarts is in the household system, so we do not use decimals. If it was in the metric system, like milliliters or milligrams or grams or kilograms, we use decimals, but not in the household system. So that's 3 2/10. I'll write that out first. 3, and that 2 is in the tenths position, so it's 3 2/10, which is, if you reduce it, you divide the numerator and the denominator by 2, you get 1/5. So the answer would be 3 1/5 quarts would be QT. with no period and no dot. And this concludes the worksheet in Chapter 3 of MTB 1370 when we're using proper household notation along with writing the quantities correctly.